This is just a story everybody knows. Italy is a country full of history, from north to south. It has transformed and connected our world since early days. Yes, Italy is an amazing country, full of green, red, white, blue, and all the existing colors. Yes, Italians always look perfect, so slick and groomed. Italians can draw, paint, sing, dance. They always knew how to impress and change the world. It's easy to have a mesmerizing meal in Italy. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in having a glass of white wine in a terrace, in making love to the Mediterranean. It's not even hard to tell a good tale about Italy, right? Yes, cinema already pictured that. We knew that since the beginning of this story.
Buongiorno, good morning everybody. I am Maddalena Fossati. I will host you this event today. I'm the editor-in-chief of La Cucina Italiana and the Italian edition of Condé Nast Traveler. I'm really want to tell you I'm happy to be here and to welcome you all in Alba, in Piemonte region, to Italy on this special occasion of the 6th Unwto Global Conference on Wine Tourism. I wish to extend a very, very warm welcome, veramente benvenuti, to all those who travel from all over the country, from all over the world, from over, of course, Italia, and all the participants, and even, the one that are showing such a resilience on this about tourism. We are also connecting live from this beautiful Teatro Sociale Giorgio Busca here in Alba. And we also have someone who is following us on YouTube channel, and I welcome them too. Welcome. And of course, we will welcome you when you are able to come to Italy soon, hopefully. Friends, dear friends, today we are here at Teatro Sociale Giorgio Busca in this amazing region, Piemonte, at the heart of the vineyards landscape of Piemonte, Langhe and Monferrato, a UNESCO-recognized heritage site. I'm fully confident that this setting will inspire us during the coming days as we learn from each other and devise ways to make wine tourism open up for new opportunities that innovation can bring for people and territories. To open the 6th Unwto Global Conference on Wine Tourism, it's now my pleasure to invite on stage the Mayor of Alba. Buongiorno e benvenuto. Buongiorno Sindaco, prego si accomodi, grazie. The Councillor for Tourism and Culture of Piemonte Region. Benvenuta, buongiorno. Pau Roca, Director General International Organization of Vine and Wine. Bienvenido. Zurab Polololi Kashvili, Secretary General World Tourism Organization. I know that I was making a mistake. Sorry. Please welcome Pololi Kashvili. Very welcome. Benvenuto. And last but not least, the Minister of Tourism of Italy. So please, if the mayor wants to say something, few words, please. I leave the podium.
Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti ad Alba. È per noi un grande onore ospitare la 6ª edizione della Global Conference, un evento importante nato nel 2016. La prima edizione si è tenuta in Georgia, poi Argentina, Moldavia, Cile, Portogallo. Prossimo anno poi si terrà in Spagna. Ma permettetemi innanzitutto di ringraziare tutti coloro i quali hanno lavorato attivamente, lavorato tanto e bene per arrivare a questo che è un traguardo straordinario e importante per il nostro Paese, per la nostra regione, per la nostra città e per i nostri splendidi territori, le Langhe, il Roero, il Monferrato. E credo che 3 siano le parole chiave di questa Global Conference: creatività, innovazione e sostenibilità. Quale sarà dunque il ruolo dell'innovazione nel futuro dell'enoturismo? Quale sarà il ruolo della sostenibilità nel futuro dell'enoturismo? E quale sarà il ruolo del digitale, dei social nel futuro dell'enoturismo? Io credo che tutto questo sia una sfida e un'opportunità che sono fermamente convinto il nostro Paese sia in grado di cogliere, ma sono certamente convinto, assolutamente convinto, che il nostro territorio e la nostra città sapranno cogliere sia le sfide che l'opportunità. Dico questo perché la storia ce lo insegna. Questo è un territorio straordinario che in 70 anni ha cambiato completamente volto. Era un territorio povero nel dopoguerra ed è diventato quello che oggi è, un territorio straordinariamente importante, amato e conosciuto in tutto il mondo, ed abbiamo ottenuto dei riconoscimenti importantissimi: patrimonio dell'umanità nel 2014, città creativa UNESCO per la gastronomia nel 2017, lo scorso anno capitale della cultura d'impresa. Questo è un riconoscimento che ci ha veramente fatto piacere, ci ha gratificato, poiché finalmente è stata premiata ufficialmente la nostra grande vocazione imprenditoriale, la nostra capacità di fare impresa, la nostra capacità di lavorare in sinergia, perché questo è un territorio che lavora in sinergia. E credo che dietro questi grandi riconoscimenti ci sia sicuramente un grandissimo lavoro, e dietro il grande lavoro ci sono dei grandi uomini, e questo territorio ha dato in Natale dei grandissimi uomini. Grazie di cuore a tutti e buona conference.
Thank you. Now, please, the Councillor for Tourism and Culture of Piemonte Region.
Buongiorno a tutti, davvero benvenuti, e con grande calore che sono contenta e onorata come Regione Piemonte, ma che vede la città di Alba essere città ospitante di un evento così importante. Da subito porto il saluto del Presidente della Regione Piemonte, Alberto Cirio. Ringrazio, e quindi sono davvero ringraziamenti sentiti, il Segretario Generale e il Direttore Europa di Unwto, il Ministro del Turismo. Ringrazio Enit per aver agevolato un percorso organizzativo che ci ha portati e ci consente oggi consente alla nostra regione e ai nostri territori di ospitare questo evento davvero importante, ed è un momento che noi ci auguriamo, ed è quello l'obiettivo, di essere di confronto e condivisione sul tema dell'enoturismo. Ringrazio il Sindaco di Alba che ospita questa 6ª conferenza mondiale, l'Agenzia Turistica Locale Langhe Roero Monferrato e ovviamente tutti gli attori che hanno dato un contributo sia del territorio albese ma anche da territori un po' più distanti, perché questa per noi è una grande occasione mondiale sulla quale davvero possiamo proporci con tutte le eccellenze che ci appartengono, e quindi hanno permesso la realizzazione di queste 3 giornate. Ringrazio ovviamente tutti gli ospiti, a partire dai ministri degli altri paesi, delle Nazioni Unite, che sono presenti in sala. Ringrazio le autorità sia civili, militari e religiose, e tutti gli operatori del settore. Come sapete, il Piemonte è terra di grandi vini, vanta 18 di OCG, che sono vini di denominazione ad origine controllata e garantita, e 41 DOC. Oltre a tutte le eccellenze, anche che sono quelle enogastronomiche, che sono per la nostra terra, per la nostra regione, un grande valore, una grande eredità culturale, il nostro paese, ed in particolare il nostro Piemonte, e lo dico con orgoglio, vantano un patrimonio enologico unico in termini sia di prodotti che di identità, sia di culture e di paesaggi. Perché, vedete, non è a caso che questa 6ª conferenza mondiale sull'enoturismo si tenga in questo territorio, che ha avuto, come ha già sottolineato il sindaco, un riconoscimento da parte dell'UNESCO di patrimonio mondiale dell'umanità nel 2014. Quindi è un territorio che ha sviluppato negli anni, ma è capace di proporsi con un'offerta in grado di soddisfare tutte quelle esigenze di un pubblico sempre più ampio, con spunti anche innovativi, quali ad esempio cantine in dimore di pregio, oppure in spazi che sono stati progettati da architetti di fama nazionale e internazionale. Quindi c'è anche, come dire, la volontà di richiamare al senso del bello, e questo è davvero un elemento che è un valore aggiunto che questo territorio sa offrire. Io sono certa che in questi 3 giorni avremo modo di rappresentare al meglio le eccellenze italiane, di far scoprire il connubio che c'è tra enoturismo e gastronomia, di cui l'Italia, possiamo dirlo, è ambasciatrice nel mondo. L'enoturismo è la nuova frontiera per coloro che amano scoprire la bellezza, la storia, i valori della gente e dei luoghi dove questo, diciamo, protagonista che è il vino viene prodotto. E io dico grazie a tutte le imprese, i produttori che davvero sanno esprimere con il vino quella che è un valore culturale di questo territorio. Il Forum Mondiale dell'Enoturismo, che viene ospitato per la prima volta qui nel nostro paese, quindi ovviamente è un'occasione unica per far conoscere al mondo i nostri valori, le nostre identità, e per fare anche riflettere sulle prospettive, come è già stato sottolineato, di sviluppo di un settore che, se opportunamente valorizzato, può diventare quello che già è adesso un driver di crescita di quello che è un territorio in chiave sostenibile e di rivitalizzazione in crescita dei territori stessi. I territori di Langhe-Roero, l'ho già detto, registrano, essendo un patrimonio riconosciuto dall'UNESCO, registrano più di 700.000 presenze turistiche all'anno, proprio grazie alla bellezza dei luoghi, dei territori, e quindi sono un patrimonio che non va disperso, ma su cui occorre lavorare. Io chiudo questo, mio intervento augurando ovviamente buone 3 giornate che saranno gestite, soprattutto vedranno contributi da parte di privati e di quelle che sono autorità pubbliche che devono investire su questo protagonista di questo territorio, per cui davvero onorata di essere in Piemonte, di avere a fianco un ministro, di avere una città accogliente e un territorio molto vivo. Davvero buon lavoro a tutti voi.
Grazie. Signor Pauroca?
Buongiorno a tutti. Io parlerò in inglese. Your Excellencies, Your Excellency Minister of Tourism of Italy, Massimo Carvalho, Your Excellency Ambassador Polikashvili, Secretary General of the Untitled Major of Alba Carlos Bo, signora consigliera del Piemonte. I am very glad to be here at the Global Conference of Wine Tourism, and I have to say, because this is I think the first occasion that I have to be together with the UNWTO after COVID, and I think that I have to recognize the performance of this institution. Everybody recognizes the performance when a crisis occurs, and in this case, I think my friend and Zurab Pololikashvili and his team, they have done a grateful and big job during coming out of the pandemic, and I think we all have to recognize this. We have many member states that are producing member states in the UNWTO, and they are members of the International Organization of Wine and Wine. The OIV is strongly committed to the promotion and development of the wine tourism industry, and it is clearly stated in the third axis of our strategic plan that has among its objectives, and I quote, to encourage and participate in the development of wine tourism, viticultural landscapes and terroirs, highlighting their importance for society, and I end quote. As we have seen in the previous editions of this conference, wine tourism is indeed a growing phenomenon that deserves particular attention from policymakers, and it brings many benefits to not only the sector itself, but also to local and rural development via what the economists call the spillover effects. The role of development, it's between three parts, no? In terms of economic science, wine tourism would be perfect integration of primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, that is, producers, farmers, the wine industry, and also tourism as a service sector. For this year, 2022, the main themes of the conference are innovation, sustainability, and digitalization. These are the same concepts that have inspired and are the pillars of the current strategic plan of the OIV. In the current turbulent times, the wine sector has been hit in less than 3 years, first by the COVID-19 sanitary crisis, then by a global supply chain crisis, and finally by a war that is generating a strong energy crisis with consequent high inflationary pressure all over the globe. However, the disruption caused by the chain of events can also be seen as an opportunity for business to define and test and try alternative operating models and redesign new ways to move forward. Winemakers and the actors involved in wine tourism need to find innovative solutions to cope with markets that are getting more and more unstable, uncertain, and volatile. Innovation and adaptation to these changing conditions will allow wineries to remain competitive and viable. Such a strategy is essential to building resilience in order to manage disruption and sustain the business. In such a context, a source of hope comes from the availability of new digital means. I believe that the current digital transition of the sector can offer effective tools to navigate through these crisis times. And I am not referring simply to the e-commerce, which is a phenomenon that proved to be an effective remedy during the lockdown in many markets. But I think mainly in the potential brought by the use of big data and artificial intelligence to increase marketing opportunities or the application of virtual and augmented reality and improving the customer's experience. Operating with a hybrid business model this way we attract consumers and customers to both the physical and the digital space. It is definitely a valuable business strategy. At the OIV, we are strongly convinced that this is the way to go, and many of the challenges we face today can be mitigated by the adoption of digital solutions. Talking about challenges, wine tourism, like many other socioeconomic phenomena, should follow the principles of sustainability. A sustainable wine tourism, which is based one, in employing environmental friendly practices, 2, protecting cultural and natural heritage, and 3, providing tangible social and economic benefits for the local communities, can indeed act as a vehicle of positive change. In fact, wine tourism involves wide ecosystems of actors. It is not only a source of revenue for wine regions, for the wine business value chain, and for local societies, but it can reveal safeguard the cultural heritage of wine and support wine region sustainability. To conclude, by looking at recent trends, it is clear how wine has become a key component for experiencing the culture and lifestyle of many destinations and a growing travel motivation. This creates an opportunity to introduce visitors directly to wine culture and to educate them and to best appreciate wine and enjoy it responsibly. The wine tourism has an important role, and I was commenting this yesterday to the minister, to play also on this matter, which is strictly linked to the legitimacy of wine that in the last years have been questioned by several institutions close to the anti-alcohol movement. For all these reasons listed so far, I firmly believe that it is crucial to develop a comprehensive and sustainable tourism plans merged with sustainable wine production practices that will lead to strong economic growth for wine tourism markets and add value to overall society. Thank you very much.
Very good. So thank you. Muchas gracias. And now the Secretary General World Tourism Organization, Pololi Kashvili.
Thank you. Buongiorno a tutti. Welcome to our 6th edition of World Tourism Conference. Thanks a lot for your warm words, Pau. Yes, we did quite important job during the crisis, during pandemic. And I want to thank to my team and also our member states. Without them, it was impossible to live, to maintain. And we always mention that to be united, it was most important thing of these 2 very hard and difficult years from the industry, for our families, for our countries. And I want to thank you, all of you, to be next to us, to Unwto. And I think we really did a quite important support together to the sector. And most important thing always are people who are working in the industry. And they are still in problems, and they still have a lot of challenges to survive from that crisis started because of this horrible crisis and pandemic. So again, many thanks to our member states to support this brand. I mean, Unwto World Wine Conference started 6 years ago or 7 years ago I don't remember exact years because of pandemic. Again, we missed 2 years. But again, thanks to ministers who came from I will start from Georgia, I see, where we started this conference, by the way, 7 years ago, Greece, Portugal. We just came, and last year we celebrated excellent event and conference, the same conference in Alentejo. Rita, thank you. San Marino, small but big heart, and producer also nice wine. I never tried, but I'm sure that we will all have possibility to try it. Moldova is another excellent place to see how to develop a wine tourism. Bulgaria, where we will be next year, also very good and important producer of wine. I don't want to miss someone's minister of Serbia. Serbia is also very active to promote and to produce wines. And of course, Italy. Dear Massimo, thanks a lot for your support to make it happen here in this fantastic place, in fantastic example for all of us. What we saw from the airport until this beautiful center and theater, it's amazing and it's unbelievable. It's really, we are very happy and very honored to be here. The conference, I mentioned many times that it's one of the best conferences you can ever attend. Why? Because it's not about only wine tasting. Of course, we will drink a lot of wine, but this is the place where you can meet your colleagues to share this international experience. You can't attend virtually because it's impossible to participate in one conference without drinking wine. And we don't have elections, we don't have fights. It's all about nice and interesting things. And again, it's a place where we can learn and study from each other how to promote destinations, how to market, and how to position the wine tourism worldwide, which is becoming a big part and very important part of tourism, with the culture, of course. Culture and tourism are brother and sister. Again, it was mentioned here many times that this place, Piemonte region, is recognized by UNESCO. Today's conference, it's about creativity and innovation. I wanted to ask to my team, and I have very good news, Sindaco, for you, that maybe why don't we recognize Alba region recognized by UNWTO? And why? Because we don't want to compare and to compete with UNESCO. UNESCO is our sister organization from UN, but the place which has such beautiful places and culture and wine and gastronomy, and Alba itself like a capital of truffles, and the names like Nutella and all these vineyards you have here, it has to be recognized, and there are many places, to must-see places, and we will start this process to recognize regions by UNWTO, and I think we can say that Alba can be one of the first one, and then we will start the places where people have to come back to spend money and to enjoy the beauty of the places. Again, we are talking about people. It will give the motivation, first of all, to people who are working in the sector. 2 years ago, just before pandemic, we announced excellent project, and I'm very proud to be part of this project, which is Best Tourism Villages. And again, we have to recognize places where people have to come and tourists have to come, and Alba is one of the best example, and I'm sure that this tradition will continue, like wine conference started 7 years ago, and will be one of the interesting and best practices and showcases of our industry. Very happy to have you, dear Pau, here. We became strong partners without numbers. You know much better about wine than we know, and to be the partner like you are, it gives us another drive, another motivation, and I'm very happy that you are participating second time with us. Your support is crucial. Numbers are very important. Everything changed after COVID and pandemic. Even wine consumes all over the world changed a lot. We survived with the wines during these 2 years, and eno-tourism is becoming a very important trend. We are very happy to have FAO with us. FAO started and were committed with us in Best Tourism Villages project, but we became very close than ever, and three of us, I think we can promote, we can support, and we can help rural tourism development all over the world. There is a huge potential. And again, why this conference? Because this year we will talk about, and our thematic thing is creativity and innovation. And our commitment is to attract more innovation, more digital platforms, more creative support to the industry. And that's why we have huge representatives from all over the world. We have quite big delegation from Chile, where we celebrated also a very important conference. From Argentina was second one. We have quite strong representatives. So this all makes some experiences. And at the end of the day, we will develop and we will make wine tourism much better, much competitive. And again, we will create together new jobs, which is very important. And I'm very thankful all guests coming and to be with us. Please enjoy beauty of Italy, beauty of Alba region. And I'm sure that these 2-3 days we will work, we will have nice, unforgettable days. And what is very important, results. When we'll come back to our homes and our capitals, we will know more about wine tourism, which is becoming again a very, very strong part of our industry. Thank you again, dear Minister. We are second time in these 3 months. I don't want to forget the hospitality and very important conference we made for kids. That time we could not drink wine with them, but I think we'll all enjoy a lot. We organized first youth conference, tourism conference in Italy, in Sorrento last July. And thank you for your commitment, for your support always. And Italy always will be a nice showcase, the best showcase for less developed countries. And our role from UNWTO is to interchange and to support our member states with nice experiences, and we will always use, with your permission, your experience, your knowledge, and your know-how, which was shown quite well in this short video worldwide. And thank you for your support and commitment always. Thank you, dear guests, and have a nice conference.
Thank you, Secretary Pololi-Kashvili. And now, please, Ministro, le lascio il podio.
Grazie a tutti e benvenuti ad Alba. Un ringraziamento particolare per aver supportato l'organizzazione di questo 6º congresso mondiale dell'enoturismo qui in Italia, in Piemonte, ad Alba. Un ringraziamento particolare all'UNWTO, in particolare all'amico segretario generale Zura Pololi-Kashvili, a tutto il suo staff, al direttore generale Roca dell'OIV. Grazie anche per la concretezza delle idee che verranno messe in campo in questi giorni. Grazie alle signore e signori ministri e alle delegazioni degli stati esteri presenti, in particolare a Rita Marquez, che ricordiamo per l'ottimo lavoro fatto in Portogallo nella scorsa edizione, che ci spinge a fare sempre meglio, perché anche questo è bello, il bello di queste organizzazioni, di questi eventi, vedere cosa è stato fatto dagli altri paesi e cercare tutti insieme di fare sempre meglio. Grazie all'ENIT, all'ex presidente Giorgio Palmucci e al direttore generale Roberta Garibaldi per il supporto, al sindaco Carlo Bo, all'assessore Vittorio Appoggio e a tutti i presenti. Chi abbiamo dimenticato è colpa mia, me ne scuso. È questa una grande occasione per Alba, per il Piemonte, per mostrare, fare un viaggio in questa Italia dell'enoturismo, un viaggio nell'Italia bella, operosa, appassionata e che appassiona, e al mondo del vino che è collegato a quest'Italia. È un viaggio in un'Italia con quasi 700.000 ettari di vigneti, più di 300.000 aziende, quindi un mondo, quello del vino, molto complicato. Come diceva il direttore, si parte dalla produzione al turismo e in mezzo c'è veramente un mondo che non finisce con la produzione, con il turismo, ma poi continua. Un viaggio in posti bellissimi, non è un caso che l'Angro Ero Monferrato siano un sito UNESCO, non è un caso che sia sito UNESCO le colline del Prosecco, le colline toscane, i terrazzamenti delle Cinque Terre. Ecco, dietro c'è, come diceva il sindaco Carlo, tanto lavoro degli uomini che negli anni, nei secoli hanno plasmato questo territorio e l'hanno reso unico, bellissimo. Quindi c'è tanta tradizione, ma c'è anche tanta innovazione e questo congresso, che come vedete dal programma è molto operativo, molto concreto, spinge giustamente sull'innovazione e aiuta a spingere questo turismo legato al vino, al mondo del vino, dell'enogastronomia più in generale, che è turismo sostenibile. Prima il segretario generale Zura Pololikashvili ricordava il bel evento che abbiamo fatto insieme e ringrazio ancora l'Unwto per aver organizzato questa bellissima cosa a Sorrento in Italia a inizio estate, il primo congresso mondiale dei giovani. Beh, ve lo racconto un attimo. Lì sono venuti 160 ragazzi da tutto il mondo, dalle isole Cook in mezzo al Pacifico, Sud America, Africa, Nord America, Europa, e hanno simulato, lavorando veramente sodo, per qualche giorno hanno simulato una vera riunione dell'ONU e hanno prodotto un documento che vi consiglio di andare a leggere. Dal tanto quel documento è forte e profondo e il messaggio principale è proprio quello della sostenibilità, quindi di un turismo sostenibile, che quindi non è una moda ma è un dato di fatto con cui tutti gli operatori, tutti noi dobbiamo non solo convivere ma dare risposte. Quindi questo congresso aiuta ancora a fare innovazione che va in questa direzione. Perché noi abbiamo questo patrimonio enorme, ce l'ha l'Italia ma ce l'hanno anche gli altri paesi. Noi guardiamo adesso casa nostra, l'Italia, il Piemonte, Alba. Un patrimonio enorme che giustamente va tutelato, conservato e ci mancherebbe altro. Va anche fatto crescere, perché non è che il patrimonio finisce lì, va fatto crescere, ma soprattutto va fatto rendere, perché quando hai un patrimonio così importante lo devi far rendere. E questa è appunto una delle declinazioni del turismo sostenibile, quindi far vivere il patrimonio turistico della nazione tutto, quindi non solo i grandi attrattori che sono già conosciuti, per amor di Dio. Più gente viene, più siamo contenti, magari non tutti insieme, non tutta allo stesso giorno. Però abbiamo questa fortuna di poter distribuire meglio i flussi turistici. E l'enoturismo su questo è una grande occasione, anche perché Roberta Garibaldi mi dà ogni tanto i dati, però questo è molto interessante. Chi viene in Italia, il 90% di chi viene in Italia desidera fare un'esperienza di enogastronomia, di enoturismo, il 90%. Quindi è un'enorme occasione per sviluppare questo tipo di turismo sostenibile. Certo, tutto bene? No. Allora, la stagione sappiamo è andata bene in Italia, è andata bene tutto. Finalmente si è usciti dalla pandemia e si è ripartiti anche molto forte. Se quest'anno il PIL italiano cresce, finora, è proprio grazie al turismo. L'hanno certificato il Fondo Monetario Internazionale, la BCE, ieri anche Confindustria. I dati sono molto buoni. Secondo trimestre saranno molto buoni anche questo terzo trimestre. E poi però ci sono problemi. Ci sono problemi che abbiamo tutti, i costi dell'energia, l'inflazione. Quindi anche le risposte che diamo qua saranno un'occasione per trovare delle soluzioni per affrontare meglio insieme questi problemi. Quindi vi ringrazio, buon lavoro. Sappiamo che dietro il mondo del vino c'è veramente tanto lavoro di donne e uomini appassionate, come sono sicuro sarete appassionati voi. Grazie e buon lavoro.
Thank you. Grazie, Ministro. Now we have an official photo, so would you mind to... Are you going to take the picture like this, or do you want them to stand? Okay. Ah, abbiamo un imprevisto. We have a special gift. Non ho capito se vi vogliono dritto dito in più. Io mi alzerei, no? I think it would be better.
Così facciamo la foto.
Abbiamo gelato? Thank you very much. And now, thank you. And now that we officially open this year's conference, let's continue to deep dive into the theme, Wine Tourism Pairs with Innovation. It's my great pleasure to invite on stage Ms. Roberta Garibaldi, CEO of Unwto. She will take us through a journey to discover all the innovation happening in wine tourism in Italy, sought after all over the world. Please, thank you.
Thank you. A warm welcome to everybody, and I'll have my speech in Italian. We can start with the slides. Thank you. Ho cercato oggi di presentare quella che è l'innovazione dell'enoturismo italiano, identificando 10 principali punti. Cominciamo a vedere un po' qual è la situazione. Qualche dato l'abbiamo già sentito prima del nostro paese, che vanta sicuramente la più alta produzione al mondo di vino e il più alto numero di vini con certificazione. È interessante vedere che il numero dei vini con certificazione è ormai, cresce, ma con numeri abbastanza limitati. È bello vedere ciò che sta crescendo negli ultimi anni, che sono tutti gli aspetti che riguardano l'enoturismo e sono anche la richiesta di certificazioni di tipo diverso e quindi per esempio le certificazioni UNESCO. Questo indica un settore che oggi considera molto importante la connessione con le identità locali, con il territorio e quindi tende anche a valorizzarli con processi complessi che guardano anche al mondo internazionale e quindi questo è uno degli processi di evoluzione che si stanno attivando nel nostro paese. Il secondo importante tema è quello della sostenibilità. Anche qui il nostro paese ha, per esempio, la maggiore, sul totale della superficie abitata, la percentuale più alta di coltivazioni biologiche. Siamo leader anche su altri parametri che riguardano, per esempio, le emissioni di CO2, quindi l'utilizzo dei pesticidi. La maggior parte delle aziende, vedete qui i dati, agricole, già attivano processi di sostenibilità, sia ambientale che sociale che economica. E quindi partiamo in un contesto estremamente virtuoso. Il legame, il passaggio è quello di portare oggi tutto questo che riguarda la sostenibilità verso la parte turistica e voglio citare un progetto virtuoso che riguarda proprio questo territorio dove per esempio sono stati organizzati i trasporti in modo collettivo, creando centri logistici per evitare il percorrere delle vie sulle colline in modo eccessivo da parte dei camion, e questo è un esempio di azione di collettività che va verso la sostenibilità. Diverse cantine italiane sono già diventate benefit piuttosto che B Corp, attivando appunto dei processi estremamente alti sui temi della sostenibilità. Interessante è anche vedere quello che abbiamo visto essere la crescita della sostenibilità sociale. Oggi il turista vuole scegliere, nel momento della scelta ritiene molto importante il fatto che l'azienda, l'esperienza turistica sia collegata ad elementi sia di sostenibilità sociale, ambientale, ma anche sociale, quasi con le stesse percentuali. Ecco che anche qui in Italia sono stati attivati dei percorsi virtuosi, troviamo cantine gestite solamente da donne, gestite magari da persone che sono carcerate, piuttosto che tutto il processo, il collegamento di condivisione delle comunità locali, e su questo sentiremo poi un bel intervento da parte di Carlin Petrini, che ringraziamo per essere qui oggi a presentarci il progetto, e pensiamo che questo territorio è stata proprio la culla di tutte queste considerazioni riguardanti la sostenibilità, e quindi grazie per l'importante contributo che ha potuto dare a livello internazionale su questi aspetti. Il terzo tema, il terzo che voglio evidenziare come evoluzione di questi ultimi 2 anni e 3 anni dell'enoturismo in Italia, è quello del vivere gli spazi all'aperto. Sicuramente è stata una necessità che è emersa dal tema del Covid, che quindi le attività dalle cantine si sono spostate nei luoghi all'aperto. Quindi gli operatori per continuare a poter lavorare efficacemente hanno fatto queste scelte, i turisti oggi, ancora oggi, ci è rimasto questo nel post-Covid, la voglia di vivere gli spazi all'aperto sempre di più. Ed ecco che molte realtà italiane hanno lavorato nella connessione tra il tema, per esempio, di bicicletta e gusto, e quindi c'è stato un raddoppio di propensione dei turisti enogastronomici nella voglia di vivere questo tipo di esperienza. Qui ho messo un esempio virtuoso in Italia, che è l'Eroica, che si tiene in Toscana, dove ci sono dei percorsi tra i vigneti in bicicletta, tra strade bianche e normali, in cui si devono utilizzare, quando ci sono queste competizioni, le biciclette del secolo scorso, piuttosto che anche tutti gli abbigliamenti del secolo scorso. È diventato un modello che oggi viene portato anche in altri luoghi del mondo. Allo stesso modo come il bike si sono sviluppati in Italia molti percorsi di wine trekking, così come il tema del picnic. Ho voluto riportare quella che è la locandina di Città del Vino di quest'anno, che tra l'altro è stata preparata proprio da una studentessa di Alba, che vuole rappresentare il progetto delle città del vino italiane proprio sul tema del picnic. Pensate che è gradito dal 75% degli italiani ed è diventata in questi anni un'attività che ha avuto molto incremento, così per esempio come le cene in vigna, e quindi il tema del vivere gli spazi aperti dei vigneti. Il quarto trend, il quarto elemento che voglio presentare è il tema, l'ho voluto chiamare nature bathing, partendo dal concetto del forest bathing giapponese, in cui ci si ritempra, ci si ricarica. Ci sono degli studi scientifici che dimostrano che si ottengono questi benefici nel vivere e nello stare all'aperto. E quindi questo è un trend in forte crescita, anche qui fisico e psicologico, dopo i temi del Covid, e l'enoturismo italiano lo sta abbracciando. Aumentano sempre di più le realtà che offrono spa nei piuttosto che attività sportive. Qui vedete uno yoga in un vigneto, piuttosto che attività, in questo caso Barone Ricasoli in Toscana, che offre il dipingere, la possibilità di dipingere nei vigneti. Il quinto trend che caratterizza l'enoturismo italiano sono le connessioni, le nuove connessioni tra urbano e rurale, e quindi le connessioni tra il mondo delle città e il mondo rurale. E è molto bello che si sviluppi questo, perché aiuta anche a ridistribuire i flussi e quindi a portarci i turisti dalle città verso le campagne, ma la campagna entra in città. Ho fatto qui una foto di una case history che sentiremo domani, che riguarda Villa della Regina a Torino, dove c'è una vigna urbana e quindi in città, e sentiremo parlare Luca Balbiano, che è partito a creare una connessione delle vigne urbane italiane ed internazionali, creando anche qui un percorso molto interessante. Oltre a questi esempi della ruralità che entra nelle città, ecco che nascono quelli che io chiamo hub enogastronomici. Questo è un esempio a Montalcino in Toscana, dove abbiamo un museo del gusto che è collegato ad altri 2 musei sull'arte antica che si trovano in città a Montalcino, ma vi è anche la possibilità di acquistare prodotti tipici, di acquistare esperienze, di mettere dei visori e di vedere a 360 gradi le colline, le bellezze delle colline toscane e di noleggiare magari delle biciclette per fare questi percorsi, oltre che acquistare i prodotti. E quindi ecco, questi diventano degli hub in città che permettono poi di scoprire e fare un ponte verso l'esterno. Il sesto trend che caratterizza l'enoturismo italiano è una forte crescita dell'ospitalità a 360 gradi. Le cantine italiane storiche erano, diciamo, negli anni sono state abbastanza chiuse nel tema della purezza della produzione del vino e della degustazione del vino. Ci è stata un'apertura importante in questi anni e quindi abbiamo visto nascere, ad esempio, Unwto, in questo caso è una masseria in Puglia, che vedete che presenta i vigneti a forma di onde del mare e gli ulivi sono posizionati come delle isole al centro del mare. Il glamping, questo è un esempio di innovazione nella ricettività all'interno delle cantine, piuttosto che il tema della ristorazione gourmet che si permea oggi il mondo dell'enoturismo, e anche qui siamo in una regione estremamente ricca da questo punto di vista, e piuttosto che il concetto di wine bar, che anche qui appunto l'Italia aveva un po' di reticenza con questa visione molto tradizionale del vino, ma che stanno abbracciando ormai il nostro paese. Il settimo elemento che volevo sottolineare: abbiamo avuto un cambiamento nel profilo del turista, per cui non è più un turista solamente appassionato, ma è un turista che ha caratteristiche di trasversalità, e quindi i giovani piuttosto che le donne, piuttosto che appunto un turista che non è appassionato conoscitore di vino, ma ha voglia di andare in questi luoghi, in queste cantine, che ormai sono spazi bellissimi e suggestivi, con molti link e connessioni, come andremo a vedere. Quindi l'enoturismo riesce ad offrire quelle che sono le principali esigenze del turista odierno, e quindi che ama vivere esperienze che lo possono coinvolgere emozionalmente, ha voglia di approfondimenti culturali che qui può trovare, e allo stesso modo di relazionarsi con gli altri. E quindi queste sono le 3 caratteristiche che ben si trovano all'interno delle cantine. Sicuramente un tema che sarà utile discutere è come coinvolgere la generazione Z, che oggi è un pochino più deve essere coinvolta ulteriormente nel mondo del vino. L'ottavo tema su cui stiamo lavorando in Italia è quello delle connessioni, e quindi nel cercare di creare dei prodotti turistici che possano valorizzare le connessioni che oggi caratterizzano il mondo del vino. E quindi vi scorro alcune delle connessioni su cui stiamo lavorando come prodotti turistici che caratterizzano il nostro paese. Il primo è la grande connessione che in Italia abbiamo tra luoghi del vino e arte, e qui oggi chi andrà per esempio nella cantina Ceretto potrà vedere questa chiesetta di Sollevit che si trova tra i vigneti del Barolo. E questo è un altro esempio dell'Umbria. Vedete questa cantina che è un luogo di produzione, ma è anche un grande carapace che è stato creato da Pomodoro, un importante artista italiano. Il tema della land art. Qui ho inserito la più grande opera di land art che troviamo in Europa, è il Cretto di Burri, che si trova che è abbracciata dai vigneti delle cantine Orestiadi in Sicilia. Vedrete, chi andrà ad Chiarlo vedrà altre opere di land art, e quindi anche questo è un bel movimento, un bel trend che riguarda il tema dell'arte, oltre ovviamente al design, alle cantine di design, in questo caso la cantina Antinori in Toscana, che possono essere ritrovate e punteggiano il nostro paese. Non possiamo non citare le dimore storiche, e quindi in tutto il nostro paese abbiamo dimore storiche che sono sedi di vigneti piuttosto che di oliveti, e anche questo è un bellissimo modo per poter scoprire il nostro paese, quindi fare il viaggio delle dimore storiche che presentano che sono aziende agricole e rurali. Qui ne vedete un'altra che si trova in Veneto. Anche se la grande caratteristica e un grande interesse che ha il turista è verso le cantine familiari, e quindi dove trovare quell'identità e quel modo di vivere italiano, e quindi anche queste andranno e vengono valorizzate come percorso, che rappresentano la vera connessione con i nostri operatori. Un altro bel tema italiano è quella della connessione delle cantine con l'archeologia. Ho voluto mettere questa foto che rappresenta i vigneti della valle, della strada del vino di Agrigento, che parte proprio dal parco dove vedete i templi della valle di Agrigento. Ma posso citare Pompei, dove abbiamo dei vigneti, posso citare Rocca di Frassinello coi Fenici in Toscana. Eravamo col ministro ad Aquileia e hanno deciso di partire con un vigneto anche ad Aquileia, e quindi anche questa è una connessione davvero peculiare del nostro paese, ma che dimostra quanto tutto il nostro territorio è connesso con il tema del vino. Gli ospiti internazionali potranno fare una bellissima esperienza, quella del treno storico che porterà da Alba a Canelli, e anche questo sarà, a partire dall'anno prossimo, un bellissimo modo per scoprire il nostro territorio e per attraversare aree vitivinicole. La musica che caratterizza il nostro paese, anche qui è possibile fare un bellissimo percorso di cantine che offrono musica. Questa è una barricaia disegnata da Renzo Piano, uno tra i nostri più importanti architetti, dove si tengono concerti, piuttosto che la religione. In Italia, anche questo è un nostro tema, potete fare un tour nelle abbazie che producono vino, e quindi questa è l'abbazia di Novacella, ma ne trovate lungo tutto il nostro paese. Non posso non citare la moda caratterizza l'Italia, e quindi è possibile anche andare nelle cantine che sono collegate alle case di moda. In questo caso è Ferragamo col suo Borro in Toscana, un bellissimo borgo dove si ritrovano anche artigiani, luogo di arte e vino. Piuttosto che mi fa piacere citare Bisson, che è stato colui che è partito col tema del vino che viene fatto riposare in fondo al mare, ha fatto per primo, con 10 anni di studi, questo tipo di proposta che poi oggi troviamo anche in altre parti d'Italia e del mondo, ma è partito proprio da noi in Italia. Ultimo tema delle connessioni è quella, siamo in un mondo in cui si lavora in smart working, e quindi sempre più servono conferenze e meeting per ritrovare il legame in azienda, e quindi la connessione tra business, mondo del business e mondo del vino. Quindi chiudo un po' questa corsa sull'enoturismo e sui trend dell'enoturismo italiano. Innanzitutto, questi percorsi rappresentano proprio il modo di vivere italiano. Questo è l'hashtag che abbiamo creato come ente del turismo, e che può essere appunto la scoperta dell'Italia attraverso l'enoturismo, e questo è un esempio della nostra campagna Italian Shopping, che caratterizzerà il mese dell'autunno, e abbiamo lanciato proprio in questi giorni uno dei monumenti nazionali, che è Massimo Bottura, che è nostro testimonial di campagna. Quindi chiudo su due aspetti, un po' di innovazione nel marketing in Italia e il lavoro di pianificazione strategica che stiamo facendo. Per cui, per quanto riguarda l'evoluzione, in Italia siamo uno dei paesi dove gli studi di neuromarketing applicati al vino sono tra i più avanzati. Adesso non ho tempo di darvi degli esempi di risultati applicati al tema del vino, che possono caratterizzare per esempio l'uso del tappo di sughero piuttosto che a capsula, l'etichetta di un colore piuttosto che di un altro o quant'altro, però ci sono molti studi applicati già alle nostre cantine e quindi ai siti web, alle scelte dei wine shop e quant'altro. Proprio in questi giorni è uscito un film di Netflix che è collegato al mondo del vino italiano e quindi abbiamo fatto proprio un protocollo d'intesa con Netflix per valorizzare quello che è il nostro turismo e quindi entriamo anche su questi canali, oltre ovviamente ad utilizzare Alexa, eccetera, eccetera, e Google per poter fare degustazioni. Ci sono le prime esperienze nel metaverso e negli NFT e quindi troviamo le prime iniziative che riguardano queste frontiere della interazione, della comunicazione con il futuro e anche i fumetti che ci sono stati negli ultimi 2 o 3 anni varie realtà che hanno utilizzato questo mezzo per poter dialogare sia con i giovani ma anche con i meno giovani. Quindi oltre al gaming che riguarda il tema del vino. Le degustazioni digitali che diventano qualcosa di molto interessante da poter vendere nei wine shop, per cui quando il turista ha fatto il tour si offre il vino, ma anche la possibilità di fare una degustazione a casa di quel vino con i propri amici, che possono vivere un pezzetto dell'esperienza e magari essere invogliati a tornare. Quindi questo erano l'ultimo, voglio chiudere che tutto questo che sta accadendo riteniamo sia importante che venga chiuso e rafforzato in un documento strategico, che quindi come Enit siamo nella fase della redazione del documento, con incarico del Ministero del Turismo e il Ministero delle Politiche Agricole, con un processo ampio e partecipato che ha visto la collaborazione delle regioni, ma anche di esperti a livello nazionale, e che lavora su 4 pillar fondamentali, su 4 pilastri. Uno è il preservare, che è fondamentale, adesso ci tornerò tra un attimo. Il secondo è l'innovazione, mantenendo l'autenticità, da questi agricoltori virtuosi che nonostante le difficoltà riescono a preservare anche la bellezza del paesaggio. Ricordiamoci che gli agricoltori sono coloro che preservano in modo importante questi bellissimi paesaggi che noi vediamo e apprezziamo e fanno parte fondamentalmente, è forse l'elemento più importante e trainante dell'enoturismo. E quindi è importante preservare tutto questo e aiutare e supportare anche nelle situazioni che sono un pochino più complesse. Grazie mille a tutti. Grazie.
Well, thank you, Roberta. Very helpful and very inspiring. And now we have a very, very special guest from the other side of the pond, from USA, Mr. David Fuhrer. Has an extensive career in our sector. He directed and hosted the conference Green Wine Future 2022 and 21, 2019 Climate Change and Wine Leadership, and 2016 created Origins of Wine Civilization. Since 1991, he holds many diverse roles in the wines and spirit sectors and now contributes to the US Wine Business Communication and Distiller, the UK's Harper's Wine and Spirit, while providing his marketing communication expertise to organizations throughout the world from his New York home. To speak with him on stage, Mrs. Sandra Carvalho, Chief of Tourist Market Intelligence and Competitiveness at Unwto. Please join us. Thank you, and very welcome. Buongiorno.
Very good. Buongiorno. Is there anyone there? Okay, good. Buongiorno. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Carvalho. As you've seen, I'm Head of Market Intelligence and Competitiveness at the World Tourism Organization, and wine tourism, rural tourism, gastronomy tourism is one of our pillars in making our destinations more competitive and more sustainable. And I'm thrilled to be joined here today by David, coming from the other side, as Madalena just said. And as we're here to talk about the future of wine tourism, I could not start with David. How do you see the future of wine tourism?
Well, it's a very simple question with a very, very complex answer. But before I launch into that, I want to know, show of hands of all of those gathered here in the auditorium, how many of you are from outside of Europe? I just want to know my audience. Okay, thank you. And how many of you are within Europe? Raise your hands. And within Europe, how many of you are from Italy? Okay, so now I know your geographic locations. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank you all for coming to Alba, which I thought, wow, what a beautiful place for a conference. And so I was very surprised to walk into last night's soiree. I'm sure you all enjoyed it as much as I did, to discover that I had been there a dozen years or so ago for another Piedmontese wine event. So it was good memories coming back to all that. And for my Italian hosts, I apologize for not speaking Italian. Thank you for hearing my very poor American English. But in regards to the future of wine, I do come back to the questions. I want to say that we have a future that's coming upon us that we did not account for some years ago. Even those of us who were scientists did not see things happening as quickly, that we need to reckon with the results of what we've done as humans. So the future of wine, as you might know from the lady's introduction of me with organizing the Wine Future and Green Wine Future conferences in particular, is that, and you know this all terribly well here in Europe, having the summer that you've had, it's increasing challenges. And it's no more a question, I believe, as great as the UN goals are, and that we all have a responsibility to meet them. It's not so much a question of being carbon neutral. Now we need to consider issues of being carbon negative. And that's going to form something I bring up a little bit later, too. So I think, again, let's not look only to mitigate the problems that are currently facing us, but the ones that may very well indeed come sooner than we anticipated. Please. I love applause. Oh, a bit of housekeeping. I'm a bit distracted by cell phones, mobile phones going off. So please be kind, move your mobile phones to silent unless you're an organizer of the event.
So mine won't ring, no worries. No, David, thank you so much. I think climate change is definitely on everyone's minds these days. I think not only in Europe, we've seen the floods in other places. We've seen increasing hurricanes. But you were talking about the goals, but we need to do our part and go beyond and become carbon negative. What can destinations do? Because obviously here we have the wine business and we have the tourism business. So coming together with different operations. In your experience, what can be done by the winery and the operators on the ground?
Sure. Well, having heard what Zurab and Pau, my friend Pau, had said during their presentations, it brought me to jot some notes as I'm sitting over here. And that is the challenges that wine tourism faces in the future. The intersection of culture that Zurab mentioned is very important because we all have cultures, whether it's our individual culture that we were raised and live within, or the world cultures that many of us choose to embrace, or variations within that, the various gray areas that there are. These creating better understanding amongst peoples is essential for cooperation, improving the initiatives that we're all trying to apply in our wine businesses, all types of wine businesses, in terms of addressing these issues of sustainability. So having greater understanding among the cultures to what it is we can do as a planet becomes essential. I know I'm coming across a bit vague. Perhaps you'll rope me in to be a bit more specific.
Please.
Okay. So the issue of how we approach where and how it is we travel is a critical one. The lady making the previous presentation said that, and congratulations to my Italian hosts, that you are accomplishing a great deal. That is wonderful. But these responses amongst wine consumers, they vary amongst geographical location. My native America, not the greatest place when it comes to making decisions about people over profit, or profit over people. So there's still a small percentage, even here in Europe, that remain unbelievers, or merely they're just disinterested. They have busy lives, whether or not their mind takes into these issues. They have busy lives and they can't be bothered with affecting these things. So in terms of how it is you communicate, it's important to put the information about environmental sustainability as one of your tenets. If you're not doing so already, do so, and encourage your neighbors, if they are not doing so, to join in. It makes sense for good business. It makes sense for greater profitability. If that's what your main goal is, it makes better sense for the health of your family and employees. And hopefully it will lower costs, due to the lessening of energy use and unneeded packaging materials. I've been I hate heavy bottles. And I've been involved in conversations with colleagues who are seeking to find other means of transporting their wine other than glass. Now, we're all kind of addicted to glass, and I get it. There's historical reasons for it. But we need to consider also how we can transport our fine wines and our everyday wines to the people, whether it's your neighbors or across the globe, in a way that puts less stress and emits less CO2.
Thank you, David. I think that's a very important point, and you're talking about travelers and travel decisions, and there's always the issue of, yes, travelers, when they do surveys, they value sustainability and measures that are taken, but in the moment of taking a decision, do you think that, and communication is key, because if they don't have that information about the destination or the winery or the hotel in this case that they're staying, they cannot make a more sustainable decision. But does that make a difference? Especially, unfortunately, we're living a situation where the economic issues are becoming a bigger challenge, and cost might again be a very important factor. We're just seeing in the surveys how cost-led decisions are increasing. How does that impact the decision that is taken into, if I have 3 wineries or 5 wineries in a region, I will, because obviously the motivation is maybe I'll go to the ones which are better known, which have a name in the market. How does sustainability enter into this discussion?
Very good. I think it's incumbent upon wineries, one of the ways to achieve greater customer loyalty, while at the same time minimizing the environmental impact, is clearly, if you're not doing so already, working with your associations. Refer your customers to your neighbors, especially the ones that are doing the good work. By doing so, you'll lessen the amount of travel time and gas and other things that people are burning in their quest for a good touristic experience. Create more options within your territory, within your immediate territory, to reach these people and get them to stay a little bit more in that specific area, not to have to feel they have to jump from one place to the next so well. Create opportunities for them. If you have the resources to do so, make a small agriturismo. Doesn't have to be grandiose. Something small to keep people there. Also, it adds to your bottom line. It can increase your profits as well. Create small meals. Again, it increases your potential revenue, while at the same time giving a greater experience for those tourists. Sure, they're coming mostly for your wine, but give them, as much as you can, a full experience. Make them feel less a tourist and more a traveler.
Thank you. I think also that's a very important point, because obviously mobility is a challenge in terms of impact. So I think Roberta was presenting also the options with bicycles, and I must see that here I've seen quite a groups of people bicycling around the region, and obviously that connection with well-being, which is growing now, is a very good opportunity.
And there are places, of course, throughout the world that have nice biking opportunities. Piemonte is one of them. But other things that I jotted down I wanted to bring up, if I might. One way of uplifting this message is also to create events, whether individual ones at your winery, done at will, or collective events done at a pre-appointed date that you organize with your colleagues and friends in the area, in which the guests can learn in a fun and easy way what that you're doing and how what you're doing links with the betterment of our planet and the wines that you are making from it. This will I hope it will inspire your clients and your potential clients to return, to remember their experience with you and order the wines online that you ship to them. It also it allows them to reflect upon the applications they've seen you do, whether it be in the vineyard or the winery, that they think, well, maybe I could do something like this at home so I use fewer chemicals in my cleaning process. Maybe you can't, many times you can't use certain chemicals at wineries because it will spoil the wines. Make people think in those terms as well, how they can manage water usage. They can learn from your experience, if you've done the work, to better manage the use of water.
Thank you, David. And I think also it's a positioning issue, as you were saying, communicating what is done. And again, experience very interesting that we witnessed this weekend here. It was harvesting for children. So also a great opportunity to build information and also to create, future sustainable leaders among the community. And talk about community, because we've been talking about environmental sustainability, and obviously wine tourism is probably one, I would say, we're talking about the terroir, so one of the most locked tourism products in sense of you can only have that experience in that territory.
True.
How do you enhance the contribution of wine tourism to the territory and engage communities more? I always use the experience of how do we bring the wine besides the winery also to the community and make them not only enjoy but obviously benefit and be part of that process? Well,
it's my opinion that here in Europe you have less of a stigma, less of a differentiation between the enjoyment of wine and the enjoyment of food and other aspects of cultural life within the communities that you have. I think it's less of an issue here than it is in many countries, my own being one of them, where these things are seen as separate linear points. So I think a good way to approach it might be, if you are, again, not doing so already, within your geographic association of wine producers, work with other groups of business owners and landowners to establish mutual goals that are fixed with quantified target points, and meet on a periodic, even annual basis, perhaps, to discover what you can do as a greater community. Don't think of yourself only as what can we do as wine producers to bring them in. Well, bring the other people in from the beginning. Create a network amongst your varied businesses, friends, colleagues, neighbors, to see how you can grow your businesses and and lessen your environmental impact in a simultaneous fashion. So I also would recommend supplanting short-term goals for that of long-term ones. Again, I know as small business owners, it becomes a very difficult point to make. But with the way the planet is going, with the summer being a great example to you all, I think we have to think also in long-term, for the long-term sustainability of our businesses and, of course, for the children that you just mentioned a little while ago. Yeah.
Thank you, David. I think one of the important points as well that you were mentioning is networking and working together. And this is obviously, being a wine tourism conference, as I said in the beginning, is the pandemic has hit, obviously, the sector. The human resources allocated to the operation of tourism within a winery obviously had to be somehow reduced. Now they're coming back slowly as well. And from your point of view also, we talk about community, like to bring the issue of talent, because that is critical for the experience. How do you see that issue being dealt in terms of also the long-term sustainability of wine tourism? The people that work as the representatives taking care of wine tourism in the winery, developing new products, amazing new products that we just saw. What do you think should be done to increase the skills that the talent working in this area has?
Number one, don't forget about the younger people. Research done in many countries has already shown, many of you already know this, that younger people are much more concerned about what's happening in our environment and our climate than we are as older folks. Why? Because they have their whole lives ahead of them, and they don't want to live in storms and tumult and unpredictable occurrences to the degree that we're kind of surprised by, well, this wasn't happening when we were kids. Well, it's happening from the time of their beginning. So this is the life they're looking at. They're rightfully anxious. So let's work with the young people, find out what their concerns are, find out where their skills and motivations are, and how we can help to develop not only our current situation, but our shared future. So I think looking to the younger people becomes even more important. And in terms of what's happened, the urbanization of much of the world, Europe and the US in particular, there's already signs being shown that younger people are becoming disillusioned with work options that are offered to them in the past that were considered to be appealing. And there are plenty of examples here in Europe and in North America and other parts of the globe too, where, again, younger people are leaving that behind and saying they're going back to the country. Do what is possible to make it more viable. If you have for example, I live deep in the Hudson Valley of New York. I am closer to our state capital of Albany than I am to New York City. I'm deep in the woods. As long as I have a strong Wi-Fi connection, this is my office, and it has been for years. But it's become more clear to me that we are all growing into this, if we haven't already, as become the force for much of our work. Not all of us, but many of us. And in doing so, let's not concentrate ourselves and put so much stress in a limited area. Let's encourage people to live in a more rural environment to the best of their abilities and what makes sense, but offer them enough resources. Again, more Wi-Fi, stronger Wi-Fi connections are very important in order to facilitate this.
Perfect. Now, I think obviously one of the challenges in rural areas is connectivity, access, but digital connectivity. And I think, as you say, services as well, but to attract and retain talent and young talent with kids that can actually raise their families with new opportunities. David, thank you so much. But before we leave, one word on how you see the future of wine tourism.
Well, thank you for that. Look, it's not so much a word, it's a phrase, and I've echoed it a bit earlier: travel over tourism and people over profit. We need to understand that we are working with people, and the future depends upon our doing so in a not just profitable manner, but a way that sustains human life.
Perfect, and communicated.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. David Truer.
Well, thank you, David and Sandra. Maybe I think that environment and sustainability and community are the password for the future. And we have a lot to learn, and we learned a lot from the untapped potential of wine tourists for the future development of our territories. Now, as an Italian and as the editor-in-chief of La Cucina Italiana, I'm really honored to invite on stage Carlin Petrini. Please welcome, this is the founder and president of Slow Food. Founded in 1989 to combat the disappearance of food traditions and the spread of fast food culture, Slow Food is an international organization rooted in local areas. Buongiorno.
In quanto indigeno, anch'io mi permetto di dare a tutti voi il benvenuto in questa terra e sono stato chiamato per sviluppare delle riflessioni rispetto al tema della sostenibilità. Partiamo dal significato di questa parola, che ormai è diventata veramente impressionante dal punto di vista della dialettica. E qui si è già ampiamente parlato di turismo sostenibile. Chiariamo subito il termine sostenibile. Voi sapete bene che sostenibile deriva da sustain, che è il pedale del pianoforte che allunga la nota. Noi suoniamo il pianoforte, una nota, fa do, se mentre facciamo questo suono schiacciamo il sustain, il suono si prolunga, do. Allora hanno ragione i nostri cugini francesi che traducono sostenibile in durable, cioè le azioni che noi intraprendiamo devono avere come risultato, per l'appunto, un risultato che ha una durata più lunga, che persiste. E quindi il significato del turismo sostenibile è esattamente questo, che i benefici del turismo possano essere goduti su un periodo più lungo e che non si consumino velocemente. Partendo da questa riflessione e approfittando anche che qui abbiamo autorità e operatori del mondo del turismo, io vorrei mettere 2 punti che per me sono molto chiari. Il primo elemento è che il turismo, in quanto tale, non ha solo aspetti positivi. Qui l'abbiamo sentito in molte parti, cosa porta, cosa significa. Guardate, il turismo ha anche un impatto con alcune criticità, alcuni problemi. E quindi è opportuno, se non prevenire questi problemi, essere coscienti di questi problemi. E allora io penso che uno degli elementi distintivi del fare turismo si caratterizza turismo sostenibile in due riflessioni. La prima, chi opera nel turismo deve innanzitutto operare perché gli abitanti dei territori siano felici. Siano felici. Se non si capisce questo e si schiaccia sull'acceleratore dei servizi e dei benefici dei turisti, noi andiamo a perdere quella che è l'essenza del turismo. Io arrivo in un posto perché c'è della gente che sorride, arrivo in un posto perché c'è una comunità che mi accoglie, arrivo in un posto perché questa comunità esprime una cultura. Se l'impatto del turismo rende questa comunità più chiusa, noi abbiamo già perso. E guardate che questo è un elemento serio, non è irrilevante, è serissimo. Vedete, sul finire degli anni 70, quando Alba e Langhe erano tutti più modesti, venne a trovarmi un grande produttore di vino californiano, Robert Mondavi, e andammo al Belvedere di La Morra dove si ammira tutta la Langa. E Robert mi dice: Carlo, non senti un rumore? E io vedevo se c'era qualche trattore, qualcosa, non sentivo. Dico: no, non sento, ma ascolta bene, c'è un rumore persistente. Alla fine dico: io non sento nessun rumore. E lui mi dice: state dormendo con questo ben di Dio. Guarda la bellezza che c'è qui, voi siete qui che dormite, si sente il rumore che state dormendo. Ecco, a me piacerebbe, non è possibile perché Roberto è mancato da diversi anni, poter fare questa esperienza e vedere che tipo di riflessioni oggi farebbe dopo 50 anni di giusta valorizzazione del territorio. E da questo punto di vista anche noi abbiamo fatto la nostra parte. Ma attenzione, attenzione, c'è un fenomeno che sta crescendo nel nostro paese ed è il fenomeno della povertà dei borghi. Mi spiego meglio. Prima la grande distribuzione ha praticamente fatto scomparire le piccole realtà distributive. E allora tu andavi in un borgo, in un paese, in un paesino, quando entravi sentivi il profumo del pane, sentivi la bottega c'era della gente del posto che parlava. E poi un altro elemento era l'osteria. E all'osteria tu trovavi gli anziani. Era un luogo sociale, si lavorava, si giocava a carte. E poi c'era la comunità religiosa, i parroci, le parrocchie. Non c'è più niente. Non c'è più niente. E allora io mi domando, facciamo tutto bello sto turismo del vino, ma se gli indigeni, se la popolazione locale non c'è e non ne trae beneficio quella diretta, quella che opera nella ristorazione, quella nell'accoglienza, ma gli anziani che non hanno più un luogo dove trovarsi, la comunità che non ha più un negozio, e con Amazon questo si moltiplica ancora di più, arrivando ad avere anche nei centri urbani la chiusura di negozi su negozi. Sto parlando di che cosa? Sto parlando di benessere della comunità. Se questo avviene bisogna assolutamente che gli enti pubblici prendano delle decisioni per salvaguardare questo patrimonio, perché questo è il patrimonio turistico. Il patrimonio turistico è se la popolazione vive bene. E allora da questo punto di vista diventa sostenibile un turismo che sa governare il proprio limite. Ah, com'è difficile! Questo vale per tutti. Vale per i produttori di vino e vale anche per gli operatori turistici. La crescita è positivissima, ma arrivato a un certo punto bisogna governare il limite. La crescita non esiste in natura, la crescita perenne. No, non esiste in natura. E ce l'ha dimostrato la pandemia, che ci ha obbligato a fermarci. Bisogna che la crescita sia armonia. E allora bisogna subito parlare chiaro a coloro che operano nel turismo, alle associazioni, ai territori. Non possono parametrare l'efficienza del turismo unicamente rispetto ai numeri di persone. Allora ogni anno io vedo tutti belli contenti, è aumentato 10% in più, è arrivata altra gente. Non è questo l'elemento che noi dobbiamo monitorizzare. Noi dobbiamo monitorizzare la qualità del turismo, perché ci sia un turismo forte e non c'è qualità non funziona tutto questo. Ma qui bisogna educare gli operatori, bisogna educare le associazioni, le aziende di soggiorno, che devono capire che non è questo solo il parametro e che il turismo deve vivere in armonia con le altre cose, con i cittadini del territorio e con gli ospiti. E questa armonia si crea salvaguardando alcune questioni. La prima questione: il vino da almeno 30 anni si stacca dal mondo agricolo, dal mondo alimentare. Sta diventando quasi una commodity. E allora che bello avere questo vino, le bottiglie possono anche aumentare, se poi il turismo mi dà una mano va tutto bene. E poi non c'è attenzione per l'altra specie di agricoltura, È stato accennato qui giustamente il discorso della ruralità, ma uno degli elementi distintivi della ruralità è che ci sia anche l'altra agricoltura, perché se c'è solo l'agricoltura di eccellenza e l'altra agricoltura è marginale o non esiste, oppure, come avviene sovente, i territori si plasmano di monoculture che rendono, quelle che non rendono, via. Non va bene, non va bene, anche perché voi sapete benissimo che l'esposizione, la storia dei vigneti è molto particolare. E la diversità, la biodiversità del paesaggio non è data da un'estensione monotona di vigneti, ma è stata data anche da altre parti di paesaggio che ne mantengono la bellezza. Allora, io penso che il vino debba ricollegarsi al mondo alimentare. Il vino deve essere cosciente che fa parte di questo mondo e che proprio perché governa la terra e dalla terra ne ricava le risorse deve avere rispetto per le altre componenti. E a questo punto siamo ai giovani. È stato detto che dobbiamo conquistare i giovani. Guardate che i giovani non si conquistano con grandi idee di promozione turistica. Forse l'avete capito che la tematica dei giovani è un'altra in questo momento. Si stanno mobilitando in tutto il mondo e il problema vero di questa fase storica è che c'è una situazione ambientale disastrata, di cui la prima responsabile di questa situazione è il sistema alimentare globale. Il sistema alimentare è il primo responsabile di questa situazione. Basta citare una cosa sola. E questo noi che amiamo il vino lo dobbiamo sapere. Noi produciamo cibo sulla terra in questo momento per 12 miliardi di viventi. Siamo 7 miliardi e 800 milioni. Quindi il 32% del cibo viene buttato via. Cibo mangiabile, cibo edibile. Se volete i dati ve li dico subito. 1,5 miliardi di tonnellate di cibo che viene buttato via. Milioni di ettari fertili utilizzati per produrre quel cibo scarto. Miliardi di acqua che viene utilizzata per produrre quel cibo scarto. Questa è la musica che vogliono sentire i giovani. Questo è quello sul quale noi dobbiamo intervenire. E non è che noi viviamo in una bolla, come dire, noi siamo il turismo enologico. Noi siamo il turismo enologico responsabile. Noi siamo il turismo enologico che si fa carico di questo e che capisce questo. E capire questo vuol proprio dire ritornare a un atteggiamento attento per l'agricoltura. Io ho apprezzato molto quelle slide che ha presentato la professoressa Garibaldi, dove si delinea un atteggiamento virtuoso di tanti nostri produttori. Non è ancora sufficiente. Non è ancora sufficiente. Noi non possiamo tollerare che ci sia un'invasione di monocultura, che ci sia un uso di prodotti chimici ancora sufficientemente presente. È di pochi mesi fa il contrasto che è nato nel Trevigiano, va bene, tra la popolazione civile e i produttori di vino, no? Che irroravano vicino alle case, vicino alle scuole dei bambini con prodotti chimici. Non va bene. E non va bene che ci siano piccole sacche di caporalato, dove si portano questi africani a lavorare la terra con cooperative che pagano poco queste cose. Le dobbiamo sapere queste cose o no? Dobbiamo essere coscienti che noi queste cose non ci stanno bene, non li vogliamo o no? Perché se noi abbiamo questa logica, operiamo in un determinato modo. Se non abbiamo questa logica, il turismo in quanto tale può essere un'autostrada vincente, ma non sufficiente per essere sostenibile. E non sufficiente per essere sostenibile nel vero valore, la durabilità. La durabilità del turismo si misura con la capacità che noi dobbiamo avere su queste questioni. E guardate che il cambio climatico, ahimè, sta diventando una questione irreversibile. Irreversibile. Non vi sto a dire cosa sta succedendo. Ve ne dico una di tipo enologico, così vi piacerà, visto che siete qualche giorno qui. Tanti anni fa ho contribuito a realizzare un Atlante delle grandi vigne di Langa. Le grandi vigne di Langa, del Barolo e del Barbaresco, erano consolidate nel tempo perché erano vigne che avevano una bella esposizione al sole e terre ricche di sali minerali. Quindi queste vigne qui davano dei vini superiori agli altri. Cambio climatico. Queste vigne qui danno dei vini cotti, fa troppo caldo. E per cui le vigne che un tempo erano di seconda impostazione, quelle più ombreggiate, quelle più umide, stanno dando i migliori vini. Per esempio, stanno piantando i vigneti in Inghilterra e noi qui andiamo a piantarli nell'Alta Langa. Nello stesso tempo arrivano prodotti tropicali in Sicilia. Ecco, questo è quello che sta succedendo. Ma se il turismo del vino, non ha coscienza di questo, come può essere un soggetto attivo? Lui deve essere il soggetto attivo che proprio per la fortuna che ha avuto dell'essere la punta di diamante dell'agroalimentare aiuta tutti gli altri ad andare avanti. Perché nel misura in cui il turismo del vino si chiude in se stesso e diventa una bolla, alla fine morirà per asfissia. Questa è la vera sostenibilità.
Signor Petrini. Stia qua con me. Well, thank you very much. I actually asked to Mr. Petrini to stay on stage as we will proceed with the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding between UNWTO and Slow Food, for which I invite the UNWTO Secretary General Zurab Pololikashvili on stage. This MOU formalizes the intention of both organizations to work together in promoting gastronomy, tourism, as a tool for socio-economic development and inclusion, particularly in the connection to rural development. I would like also the Minister of Tourism, if he can join us, please, just to overall everything. È il momento di firmare. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary General. Ministro. Thank you. Grazie veramente. Well, a lot of things happening already this morning. How are you? So we can start the first session of this conference. We got a lot of inspiration, a lot of trends that we can face for the future, and innovation about wine tourism. I'm just waiting that Mr. Petrini and everyone are going to be seated again. I hope the people from the audience that following us on Tube is doing well as well. So I'm pleased to invite on stage Ms. Tanisha Townsend, Chief Wine Officer of Girl Meets Glass from France, who will moderate this panel.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here today and being able to moderate this panel. Wine tourism is booming. People are back outside and traveling the world. And to this end, new and innovative experiences around the world of wine are increasingly relevant for travelers who desire to know, learn about, and enjoy other cultures, traditions, and history through their wine. Wineries are continuously investing in wine tourism as a good way to directly sell wine, while destinations are creating offerings as a way to build a reputation and brand image for their destination. However, as tourism continues to boost, competition does as well, and wineries and wine destinations need to continuously update, upgrade, and innovate their practices and wine experiences. So innovation in wine tourism. Let's start with a definition. Innovation, a new or improved product or process that differs significantly from previous products or processes that were implemented. Or to break that down even more, a new idea, method, product, etc. That's a start, but I'd like to take it a step further. Using a thought from Gianna Moscato, a professor at the James Cook University School of Business, successful innovation must have 3 elements: creativity, a problem-solving approach, and a new way of thinking. Today, we're here to share new insights, ideas, and explore these elements of innovation. Let me introduce our panel and start the discussion. First, I'd like to bring Chef Pilar Rodriguez, Food and Wine Studio, UNWTO Ambassador for Sustainable Tourism. Professor Mauro Agnelletti, UNESCO Chair, Agricultural Heritage Landscapes, and Institute of Higher Education at the University of Florence. Francesca Planeta, co-owner of Planeta Winery. Marta Domènech Tomàs, General Director of Tourism of Catalonia. Martin Hawk, Head of Global Product, Winerist. And Pamela Lanier, founder of the Sonoma Sustainable Tourism Observatory. Thank you, panel, and welcome. I want to start with a question. With the definition of innovation in mind, what does innovation mean in wine tourism? Martin, can we start with you?
Yeah, of course, thank you. Also, apologies for being so casually dressed today. British Airways thought it'd be a good idea to leave my luggage in London yesterday, so I'm a bit more chilled today. But no, it's a great question, actually. We've heard quite a bit about it today from all the esteemed guests we've heard before. But for me, innovation is the use and adoption of technology moving forward. And if you take a step back from wine tourism and look kind of more at the tours and activities market in general, where wine tourism would sit, it's really the last pillar that has come online and embraced technology to its fullest. I assume most people here go online and they book their flight, they book their hotel, but how many of you are actually booking wine tastings or actually tours online? And luckily, the technology is available. There's hundreds of different solutions. Like, for example, the company I've worked for, Notice the Gap, we've created a solution called Winerist Go, to kind of fill that gap. And having that availability and having that instantly bookable and manage your inventory and availability online is going to be incredibly important moving forward.
Pamela, I'd like to get your thoughts on that one as well.
I completely agree. Technology is the coming wave, and it's already here. Innovation is becoming really necessary because demographics are changing very, very rapidly, especially, I guess, in California. We are seeing tremendous generational change, and part of it would be booking, the ability to book easily, and other parts of it are adaptations brought about by COVID and the various problems we've had that require that we look to the younger generation and what their preferences are and satisfy those. We're finding wine room tastings, especially those that require appointments, are losing favor. They take a long time, they're expensive, and people don't have as much patience for them. So we're looking at a lot of new methodologies of getting people out there and touring around on their own in the wineries and together.
Professor Agnelletti, what does innovation in wine tourism mean to you?
For me, means an interaction between the... Huh?
I thought it was for me.
Francesca. Sorry?
Professor, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Francesca.
You can answer right after.
I'm sorry. So for me, wine innovation in this particular historical moment means to increase the quality of the wine landscape that we are offering to tourists, which means starting to make a difference between the different landscape that we have. There are wine landscapes that are modern, they're created by wine industry. There are wine landscapes that are the results of history. They retain their historical feature. And this is something that goes together with increasing the quality, if I can say so, of the tourist. The tourists need to be informed in order to understand the differences between the different wine landscapes that we have in order to really catch the inner values included in this different landscape. That means the way you are producing, the way you are shaping your landscape, how much you're maintaining your historical feature, how much instead you have created a new landscape that was not there before. So this is something that needs to go from the two sides. From one side, we need a higher quality of tourists, more informed tourists. They need to be able to read the landscape to understand what they're looking at. On the other side, we need to valorize those places that have values, because not all agriculture, not all viticulture is able to create a valuable landscape. They do create a landscape, they can create good wines, but that doesn't mean that they create a valuable landscape.
Absolutely, thank you. Francesca, you were saying.
So for me, it's, I think, the interaction between local communities and visitors. I think that, as we said, I mean, certainly wine can be the promoter of a territory. People come to an area because the territory, because they drink a bottle, because they want to know about the zone. But I think it's very important that then we add to that the history of the area. We link to the local community, with the villages or the cities around us, in order that the visitors can have a total experience through art, landscape, food, and people that really gives him the great experience.
Absolutely. Can you give us a specific example of that, please?
Oh, yes. So when we Planeta, we are in Sicily, and we started for many different generations, and we started in 1995 with our first vintage as a Planeta brand. It was an idea from my father, together with myself and my cousin Alessio. It started from the area of Menfi and Sambuca, where our origins come from, and from there we moved to other parts of the island, from Vittoria, Noto, Etna, and Capo Milazzo. What we created is, let's say, a brand, the name of this tour that started, as I said, with the wine production and the wineries around the island, called Viaggio in Sicilia. This Viaggio in Sicilia really shows the diversity of the island, the incredible diversity that goes with different landscapes, with different stories, with different cultures, with different people, that make then the difference of the wines that we produce. So Viaggio in Sicilia became also, it started for showing buyers coming to Sicily. Then it started for the journalists in order to let them know about the beauty of this island. And then it became a project of also of art and landscape called Viaggio in Sicilia Artisti, where we invite artists to visit our places, our territories around our wineries, and then to show them through our art pieces, and that then become an exhibition. Every 2 years we do actually do an exhibition. And this Viaggio in Sicilia today is also what we show to our visitors. And so we have actually a program called Viaggio in Sicilia, which starts from Palermo, the capital city in Planeta's family palaces, where we have apartment hotels, and then it goes through Menfi, where we have La Foresteria wine resort, and then goes into the wineries of Sambuca, then to Vittoria, then to Noto, Etna, showing the diversity of the wine, but the diversity of the landscape again, and of the different architectural also design. And we always link to that experience of the winery, something that we want to show around the winery, that can be a museum, that can be artistic event or something. So we really believe in the interaction between the local producers and together with the visitors, because I think that's very much sustainability also.
It is, and thank you for sharing that. Pilar, Chef Pilar, I'd like to ask you an example of innovation that's relevant to you, because you're doing some pretty interesting things regarding food and wine pairings.
Well, thank you for inviting me to this panel. In our country, we have no more than close to 20 years of wine tourism, so we're pretty new on that, and I'm so thrilled to be here and share what we've done, and I know we have a lot of way to go still, especially this morning that is being so inspiring already. One thing that I'm missing here is the connection between food and wine. All the opportunities that you can have in wine tourism, connecting these two worlds. I didn't have the opportunity to go to every wine country, but usually when you go to a restaurant, you don't have that connection. You don't see that connection. You see the wine list, and you see probably beautiful, selection of traditional or local food, but I don't see that connection. That was my personal, offer. 60 years ago, when I arrived to Chile after being in Paris for 2 years doing a cooking school, I didn't hear that conversation about food and wine that you have in France or here in Italy. That wine goes perfect with that. And I said, I don't hear that. I don't see that conversation in my country. A wine producer, a world-class wine producer, and I don't see that conversation. So that was at that moment, that was my offer. And I designed. At that time, everybody said, "She's crazy. she's going to be so poor about this. This is so." They didn't know, even like super incredible wineries, that world-class wineries, they were at that time they offer like just a simple food with an incredible wines. They said, how come you cannot work a little bit more, in that respect? So that's a very personal, example about innovation in wine, and still, I think we have a lot of way to go, especially in recognizing the heritage, the food and cultural heritage, to work on sustainability.
Okay. And Mauro, how can we start to think about, perhaps implement, and then create new experiences in tourism?
Well, as I said before, the first step is to recognize the different quality of the landscape, then to propose new experiences, which have to take the example of Italy. In Italy, we have created the National Register of Historic Rural Landscape, where many wine landscapes are included, just to create a new form of tourist offer where people can understand what does it mean to maintain an historic landscape. We're speaking about dry stone terraces, for instance, that are protected by UNESCO. The choice of a farmer, instead of working uphill with a tractor, instead of maintaining these stone terraces, cost a lot of more money compared to modern techniques. This is something that is creating also an attraction for tourists, because they can understand how sustainable is this practice, because it's maintain the fertility, it reduce hydrogeological risk, and also mean to increase the quality of the wine. And so if you do this first and you offer this to the understanding of a tourist, you create a responsible tourist that can help this traditional landscape to survive. And in fact, concentrating on this is something new, because probably nobody knows, but UNESCO is not requiring to preserve an historic landscape. As a matter of fact, the word agriculture is not included in the World Heritage List criteria. It's something that you can have in many UNESCO sites where you have winemaking. On the other hand, the FAO Agriculture Heritage, Global Important Agricultural Heritage System are interested in maintaining the traditional agricultural practice, but they can be new. In the case of this national register, you only include in the list those landscapes that have maintained this feature. So this, of course, requires, first step, to develop policies for this, to support the farmers to do this, and then to inform and to create an offer that can be put on the market with all the activities that you can imagine are required.
Okay, thank you. Marta, I'd like to pose the same question to you. How can we start to think about implementation and creating these new experiences?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to invite us to explain about the wine tourism in Catalonia, because for us it's really the new paradigm of the new model of tourism that we want to have in Catalonia. That's why we are implementing examples that I want to be delighted to show you and to share it with you. Just some figures in order to try to have an idea that what we represent in Catalonia in terms of wine tourism, in terms of farms, in terms of Michelin stars. So we are almost 300 cellars that they are having. They open their doors to have visitors. They offer more than 800 different activities. We have 64 Michelin stars in Catalonia. It's the territory that has more in all Spain. We have almost 400 farms that they open their doors. That means that for us, it's very important, all the chain that is involved in all this activity. For us, the innovation means regenerative, means words like holistic, means words like trying to think different, trying to show the world different, and for sure, it's be really idiosyncratic, who we are, which are the stories that are behind our cellars, behind our mini companies. All the 80% of the companies involved with wine tourism and involved in the gastronomy all of them are family-run businesses. That means that they have their own stories day by day. Myself, right now, I'm the General Director of Tourism in Catalonia, but I'm the fourth generation of a hotel in Priorat. It's one region in Catalonia, in the south, and that's for us what is important in terms of innovation. Trying to be regenerative, put in the middle the people who's living in the area, and try to make all this commitment between the visitors and the residents. For us, it's exactly what we think it's important to be from the very beginning, in order when we start to think in which kind of activities we can show them. in terms of gastronomy and in terms of wine, what really belongs to the people and make this connection to the people belongs from the stomach, not from the brain. And the stomach means heart. So this is what we have to try to explain to the people. And Catalonia, you know, more or less, all of you must think in Barcelona, but Catalonia has much more than Barcelona. Barcelona, it's our open door to bring people to our territory, but it's the main little territories who explain who we are and how we beat. And this, for us, is really important.
You have a unique position being a general director of the tourism board, then also being having a family winery. How do you think that you can, the tourism boards can better support tourism offerings, whether it's wineries, tourism operators, and then also vice versa?
Exactly. I mean, the question is, I cannot hear you very well. For me, it's complicated to hear you. I don't know if the rest of my colleagues have the same problem.
Asking about support from tourism operators
Yes.
to winery destinations and wine boards and tourism boards, and then vice versa.
Can we support them?
Yes. How can we support them? How can they support us?
We have, you know, we have a tourist board agency that is working day by day with all the chain companies in our territory, and we try to follow them to which are the emissors markets that are interesting with us. But for sure, and I'm totally agree with Mr. Carlo Petrini, that for us it's very important the domestic people in terms of wine and gastronomy, because Catalonia, it's, you know, Spain has 69 appellations, 12 of them are in Catalonia, and 2 of them are qualified, one is in Priorat. And you know, what is really important, if the people, if the quantity of bottles that we produce in Catalonia would be drink in the same Catalonia, all our wineries will have much more money in their bank's account, and they wouldn't have like 5 people working in terms of commercial to try to sell their wines all over the world, because our production, it's really small, but it's really high quality, and we are trying to explain all the people which are the markets that we are really interested, and for us it's really important that the people in Catalonia consumes products from 0 kilometers, slow food products, but if not, we are trying to bring this kind of people that it's their main interest is in wine and in gastronomy, because they spend 3.5% more than other people who has other interests in terms of tourism. So for us, we focus a lot on this, because for us it's really important.
Okay, thank you. Now, we know that consumers and travelers have changed as a result of the things that have happened to us in the past few years and things that we've mentioned earlier today. Martin, I want to pose this question to you. How have consumers changed the way they travel and the types of experiences that they want to have?
Yeah, quite a bit actually, and we saw some changes actually happening pre-pandemic, which have now, you know, changed again during the pandemic. And it was touched upon earlier, one of the key factors that have come out of that since then is the desire and the need and the want for people to experience outdoor activities, which obviously sits perfectly within the wine tourism bracket. You know, there has been an increase again of people looking to go back indoors to the museums, etc. But that desire to go outdoors hasn't wavered since the pandemic, and that's something that we continue to see grow going forward as well. But outside of that as well, actually, a lot of the things I was going to touch about have been talked about earlier, so I'll touch upon something differently, and it's changed somewhat, and we're still kind of looking at the data to see what it looks like, is coming out of the pandemic, one of the key factors that people were looking for when making bookings, especially when it came to kind of activities, which was flexibility, having the need to be able to cancel up until the last minute, being able to necessarily book the night before when they're in destination. And that kind of loops back around to the technology aspect I was touching about earlier to help manage your inventory and availability. At one point, obviously before we saw the horrific events in Ukraine and the cost of living went up, flexibility was actually more important to people than pricing. That was the one thing they were looking forward to the most. So I would say that's been one of the biggest changes that we've seen. And actually, you know, historically, I used to work at, you know, TripAdvisor not so long ago, and we saw food and wine growing quite dramatically year over year there, and that's something that I fully believe is going to continue growing over the next few years.
Thank you. Pamela, I'd like to pose that same question to you.
I think I have 3 very brief examples from Sonoma. about how wine tourism is adapted. First, I would talk about Raymond Vineyard and Winery in Napa. It is a Boisset property. It's really the flagship of the Boisset brand in Napa Valley in Sonoma. They have developed a really intense outdoor and indoor, but a lot of it's outdoor, test garden and example of how biodynamics works. And it's very family-friendly, accessible format. People can go around, whether they are walking or in a wheelchair, and they can see and understand the process of biodynamic farming and grape growing. That has really revolutionized. More and more properties are adding educational features, and I think it's really important. And it's also mostly outdoors, so that's a great thing. Another one has a hayride, which is pretty incredible, that people go out on a vehicle and tour the farm. The kids love it, and more families are traveling together and want to go to wineries, and there's things to do. So that's a really good trend. Another trend I'm really, really excited about is Region, which is a wine tasting bar in Sebastopol, Sonoma County. And Region has the Napa Technologies wine system installed, 48 machines that dispense the wine fresh because they have freshness keepers. And the whole entire process is digitalized. When you come in, you're greeted, you're handed a digital card, and then it's up to you to go around and try different wines, and you can try them in 3 different sizes, so you don't have to have a big taste. You can have a little taste, a medium taste, or a bigger taste. Then it opens up into a open area of tables, almost a picnic area, but covered, which is serviced by surrounding restaurants for different food offerings. And then the restaurants are responsible for bringing the offerings into Region. It's a really booming business. The last time I was there was a Tuesday evening, and it was packed, and I was really, really surprised. It was very busy for a Tuesday evening. It's bringing a lot of locals in, and a lot of young people are using it. And the third example I'd like to talk about is really what's going on with further digitalization, and I want to feature the fact that people are looking for opportunities to be outside. They're looking online. They're finding out about things online. And the Wine Road is a great example of something that has come up. It's kind of popped up in the last few years. And it's a all-weekend-long wine event in Healdsburg. I don't know if you've heard of Healdsburg, but Healdsburg is a phenomenally successful wine area. Their tourism is booming. They seem to have really implemented how you get tourism to boom in a wine area. And the Wine Road is a great example. You have a whole weekend. There's activities Friday night through Sunday. It's an open event so that you can come, you pay your fee, you get your glass, and then you get to tour on your own. But you also get invited to a lot of other activities which you can arrange in advance online. And they're doing a lot of work with various social media to promote this and make sure that they get the kind of numbers they want coming in for it. And the cost is really affordable. It's $125 per person, all inclusive of the entertainment and food tastings and wine tastings, as many as you want. And that's the kind of price point that I'm seeing people really liking, and the kind of freedom and flexibility, as Martin said, to sort of make your own schedule that people want.
I'd like the point that both of you all made about flexibility. That's something that's very important now with the way travel is and flights are being canceled. I know, Martin, you had quite a bit of difficulty yesterday with your flight, so flexibility was kind of the name of the game there. And so both of you mentioning that is something very important and that people are very interested in as far as experiences, traveling, and that kind of thing. Professor Agnelletti, you mentioned that when we talked before about adding value to the experience, and then also there was a certain thing with UNESCO that you mentioned that may be helping out tourism in that area. Can you speak to that, please?
Well, added value, as I said before, means first to identify this value. So the experience of drinking a glass of wine to a cellar is something that It has become the common way of enjoying a wine landscape. But added value means to explain all the other things that are included in this winemaking process. So, as I said, if you are a farmer, a real farmer, from the starting point of planting a vine in your field, the way you are distributing your vines in the field create an architecture of your vineyard. The way your vineyard is placed into a more complex landscape, a diverse landscape that many other things included, is something which is helping to create more values than just tasting a wine. And then the other things is that, refer to what you were asking, I think that more and more people, especially those travelers that in this moment are a bit more careful in traveling far away and need to understand better why they're traveling, where they go. I think that they need to choose places where they find this value. And this is helping both sides. Because if you attach what we call in UNESCO and in my environment, let's say, landscape, and if you consider the quality of the wine, and you put these two things together, you create an added value that cannot be replicated by a competitor. So let's say we can all produce the same grape, like Pinot Noir, fine. And you can do it all over the world in many different ways. But what you cannot replicate is the landscape attached to this. So as long in this effort to present all the set of value that makes what we call today landscape is effective, then you exactly adding value to this and creating an informed tourist means also to allow tourist experience to discover something else. Many wine landscapes are small places, but you reach that area, then you travel in the area, you discover something else. This is helping the entire agricultural world to grow and to be in better conditions. So I think this is a direction where there's still a lot to do and where we should go in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to questions in just a moment, so I want you all to start thinking of questions that you have for our panelists here. Chef Pilar, I want to get you to give me one key thought or idea on innovation in wine tourism.
Again, I think gastronomy is probably one of the most important partners of the tourism. Without gastronomy, it's impossible to have tourism. And in the wine industry, we can't think about wine without food. It's like the gastronomy and the food is like the cultural frame of that activity. So again, it's gastronomy is one of the industries that is across the board. I think is a key factor of the sustainability.
Can you give me an example of how you've implemented?
Well, actually super simple. The decision what you make a decision to where to go to eat when you travel, and the impact of that decision can make in the local businesses. That's very important. Is you make a decision and go to a global chain food restaurant or eat sushi in Italy, probably it's not going to be a great impact. But if you go and have like a beautiful buffet that we have last night, incredible buffet, and I would like to thank for that because it was like a very it's a fantastic showcase that we travel around. You know, the local, we knew and we taste cheeses and all these mortadelas and all this fantastic food. That's what it is. I think the wine industry needs to be related to food. Absolutely. It's a key factor for me. And there's a lot of opportunities to innovate in programs. And again, we can't think about the wine tourism without food, without gastronomy.
Okay. And Francesca, I want to ask you that question as well. A key thought about innovation in wine tourism. Chef Pilar just mentioned gastronomy, and you have a couple of interesting gastronomy experiences.
Yes, as I mentioned before, I believe very much in association association, and that means also, as was said before, association with the local communities, with other producers, with wine routes or Città del Vino, wine cities. I mean, I think with all of this, it's very, very important to think, you know, not only for yourself, but together. I mean, we know that that is the difference. And in this way, we can create different experiences for our visitors. We can create different activities. We can accomplish what they, you know, depending on what are their passions they need, you know. It can be, you know, just a technical wine visit with, or sometimes pairing with food and wine with in a restaurant, or it can be art, wine, and landscape. I mean, I would like to summarize which in 4 points what we really might think and my thought towards the future and towards what we've done until now, especially we've done, but I really think it's very important for the wine tourism. It's, I say it I read it because in English comes better, an intelligent and sustainable way of making hospitality a tool for protecting a natural and cultural heritage of the destination, managing one business with social responsibility and support of local communities, to offer a highly qualified and authentic hospitality experiences which present a deep involvement of the destination. I think we are committed to the protection of cultural heritage, and activity we need to promote through the tradition, the cuisine, and the local products. And we are committed also to the social economical development of the community by including people and producers in our activities and promotion.
Okay, thank you. Marta, a key thought or message for wine, for innovation in wine tourism and for the future.
We must have roots, but doesn't have borders. That's my key message. And trying to have and to do value marketing, because all the sell means at the end do marketing plans. It has to be a value marketing and especially a honest marketing. Let's explain what we are exactly, and let's try, as I am saying, let's have roots, deeply roots, but not have borders. Then we can explain to everyone exactly who we are and how we express through our food and our wine, our gastronomy, who we are and how we live. And that makes the connection and makes the really wow effect when someone visits. Because we have to remember that the better places to live is the better places to be visited. So,
absolutely. Thank you for that. And Pamela?
I want to just focus on sustainability. I think it's so important that we all take this up as a really major thing. 6 years ago, I developed an observatory in Sonoma, California on sustainable tourism with Unwto. And I think it's important that more destinations actually get involved in those efforts, because you'll learn a lot. There is much information that can help you develop simple ways for people and businesses to come on board and have methodologies that will help to save the planet. And if you'd like, I'd love to talk with you afterwards. Anyone, I'll be around the whole conference, and we can talk about marketing. And if you give me your card or your address, email address, we'll send you our newsletter and a chapter from my book, Healthy Vines, Pure Wines. It talks about marketing in the wine industry, and especially digitalization and social media. Thank you.
So we have had an interesting discussion here of how to best be supported, new ideas with some relevant examples, some key talking points, the role of innovation. And I think a point that was made across the board was wine tourism experiences and activities outside of wine production. What else can we do outside the vineyard and the barrel room specifically? What other things can we do? And with that said, I'd like to open it up to questions. If there's anyone who has a question to our panel. I see a hand raised over here. Are there microphones?
She need a microphone.
Or does she just yell it really loud? Okay. Hello.
Hello. Hello. My name is Irene, and I work in the private sector, specifically for a US tour operator named Experi. We do wine tours, and I work in Italy primarily. Before coming to my question, I would like to thank Carlo Petrini and David Fuhrer to bring to the space the word of climate change, which I think it's fundamentally and one of the reasons why we should take advantage of this opportunity to be here gathered, and to Carlo for stressing how tourism can be damaging the territory if we don't use it correctly. So in terms of innovation, I think I struggle to make our tours more sustainable. It's still very difficult to find buses that do not use gas or oil, and so electric buses are certainly something that we as private sector are in the look for, but we don't find it. And also like plastic bottles, we use them a lot, and it's certainly something that I would like to change. And another thing is sustainable transportation, like biking. We heard the intervention of the ENIT, how this is growing, but personally, I struggle to promote it against among our guests because I found it very unsafe in Italy to bike compared to other regions of the world, like the United States where I lived, or Northern European countries. So I'd like to ask, what can be done to convince maybe Italian politicians to invest in better infrastructure as an innovation that can bring sustainability to the ground? Thank you.
Who would like to speak to that?
If you want to.
Yes, please.
Well, I reply, allow me to be a bit provocative. Okay, you was mentioning transportation and the way you enjoy and you appreciate a wine landscape. But if I wanted to inform a tourist on sustainability, I would perhaps first prefer to let them understand and to make the producers understand that first of all, your production must be sustainable. Your wine landscape must be sustainable. I don't want to go into technical details, but there are many ways of producing. So if you put many external energy inputs, as we say when I attend the conference on the climate in any agriculture production, that's the first thing you should take care of in order to be sustainable. The amount of chemical fertilizer or pesticide that you're using, the amount of mechanization, the amount of energy, because this is an energy balance. So I would say that, of course, traveling by bike is surely a good way to reduce your input in the system, choosing a different way of traveling. But if sustainability we want really to address, then we need to ask to the producers to take care first of this problem, and then, of course, inform the tourist about this difference that exists between places where you are, let's say, harvesting grapes by hand on steep slope of 75%, as they do in Prosecco, or area where you have big tractors riding across the vineyards and presenting a very different balance between energy that you put in the system, energy that is produced by the system. So that's, I understand that you are not replying to your direct question, but just because when I attend this conference on the climate conference, the question that in the technical session, not in the high political level session, is okay, what is the model that you want to propose to the world? What is the sustainable agriculture that we can have in order to solve all the problems that have been discussed? Because Carlo Petrini today was
clearly saying we have even too much food to feed the world, but the problem is the accessibility to this food and the fact that in many areas of the world you don't produce, you have abandoned it because they're not competitive in terms of economic value. In other places of the world, you are instead exploiting the resources, you are creating a big productivity, putting a lot of energy in the system. So if we want really to explore the matter of sustainability, I would start from this point of view in wine making.
Does anyone else want to answer that? Okay, we have another question right here, and then I see these two hands there.
I am Bill Borum from Sonoma County, California.
Yes.
And I am a tour guide. I drive people around all over Sonoma County and Napa Valley also. And often our visitors from many other states in the United States fall in love with the landscape that we drive through and which I describe to them. And sometimes the wives talk about wanting to move to the wine country, buy a house. So my question to Mauro is, so people discover the landscapes when they're with me and other guides. So how can we put the beautiful landscapes and countrysides front of our marketing and communication? You know, we talk about the wine and sometimes the restaurants, but what about how do we promote, or ideas that you would have for promoting the landscapes, the countryside, as an important feature of wine tourism? Or anyone else?
Okay, here we go in what I would call policies and marketing strategies. Because if we give for granted that you already have an attractive landscape, no? It's just a matter of making people aware that we speak about communication. And since we are almost all wine experts or people interested in wine, I would do something we already did in Italy. How do we advertise? What do we do advertise? And I found out that we are not advertising for the quality of the landscape. We are advertising, generally speaking, oh, there's a good wine, then a beautiful place. Okay, what does it mean, a beautiful place? So this exactly goes into the way we are informing and creating new customers that can be attracted by this resource. For me, a landscape is a resource. I'm Italian, so I have an historic landscape, but in Napa Valley, as in even in Oregon, I found out that people create new landscape, new attractive landscape that is a good thing too. So, and this of course required that you attract your customers, because maybe your wine that you're producing there, nobody knows. They would never ask for that wine, but they discovered the place. So you need to call the people to visit that place and then do what every marketing expert knows, to develop an emotional link between the landscape you visit and the product, in this case the wine that you have. So I think that in this way, if I did an experience, I'm working for the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry in Italy, and although we are known in the world as the Italians produce beautiful food and all these typical products, I have to tell you that we are not advertising for our landscape. But what is happening is people discover our landscape. I was president of the Landscape Observatory of Tuscany. Tuscany is a brand in terms of landscape across the world. And even in that case, I can tell you that, okay, the landscape is important, but we gave it for granted. Tourists discovered the landscape, but nobody explained them what to see, what is important. It's like when you go in a museum for fine arts. You can look to a painting of Monet and say, oh, beautiful. Is your emotional perception. Then you start to know about Monet, his painting, how he created that light and that color. Then is a deeper understanding of that painting, and you start to develop your own culture in fine art. We have to do the same with landscape. There is not yet a culture in wine landscape as there is a culture in rural landscape in general. We have to create this. It's not easy. Perhaps I'm telling you things that you already have, but when we created the National Register of Historic Landscape, we found out that an association was created by this landscape to communicate their experience, and we have already places where the price of the wine has doubled, where the number of tourists has increased by the double, and where we have perhaps the opposite problem. Too many tourists can destroy a landscape if we do not take care of the number.
The woman here in the yellow.
Yes? Okay, hello everyone. That's a great panel. I enjoyed it from the beginning. I am Diana Lazar, I'm coming from Moldova with a group here. And I'm having two perspectives to add to this interesting debate here. One relates to how innovation is affordable for emerging tourism destinations. And here we are from an emerging tourism destination from a country that is believed and it's ranked as one of the poorest in Europe. And second is the perspective related to how do we engage into communicating about sustainability and sustainable practices whilst being very careful about greenwashing and the perspectives related to being actually truthful about what's being done into a region and a destination. I'm having two kind of additional information coming from Moldova. I hope most of you know about Moldova. If no one knows, please approach us and we will deliver you a nice presentation about our wine country. Related to innovation affordability for a country, I believe, and from our perspective here with the wineries and some leading tourism sites, that exactly innovation and technology may serve ones of the most, poorest or emerging, let's say, and those sides that needs more attention. And here I would like to bring to your attention a case study that we have in Moldova in cooperation actually with Martin's team here, with the wineries, while we could not drive traffic towards the bed and breakfast in some villages in the country. Because Moldova has one of the fastest internet worldwide, we actually implemented these real-time booking engines that allowed people to actually book and have a place there at the bed and breakfast, and using the digital marketing techniques, we enhanced traffic towards these guest houses that are anchored around one of the most interesting underground galleries in Moldova. And second, like our perspective from our standpoint, is that maybe it's worthwhile looking at some certification bodies, and I enjoyed very much the Californian Observatory here, looking at third-party organizations to accredit or kind of to witness and to monitor the progress that has been done in terms of sustainability. Otherwise, we tend to use this word in some cases way too much, and sometimes maybe not proportional to the effort that has been done in a certain site. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I'll take the first bit on the innovation part. I was actually in Moldova a few months ago. Beautiful country. Very welcoming as well, so glad to have you here as well. But as you mentioned, innovation when it comes to kind of emerging markets in terms of the technology, it's incredibly important. The technology aspect can kind of have two main elements to it. Obviously, you touched upon there about the real-time availability and having people being able to book. That's incredibly important. Nobody wants to go onto a website, fill in a form, wait 48, 72 hours to kind of get that email back that needs to be confirmed or not. So having that real-time availability, allows you to manage inventory easier. It takes a lot of stress and work off your plate as well in order to do that. But it also opens your door to a whole world of different distribution channels that it puts you in front of customers that may not necessarily find you. And I'm talking more here about kind of the OTAs, which is the online travel agencies, and the other kind of distribution channels here, because you could take wineries, for example. We're very strong in the English-speaking market, which is the UK and the USA and a little bit of Australia. We already have that avenue to that market, so by utilizing technology, you're getting access to that straight away. In addition to that kind of B2C marketing that we also have strategic partners in place with people that are looking at, vacation rentals, they're booking, cruise ships, and we are surfacing product to them. And there's a whole heap of different OTAs on the site, online, shall I say? And it's about finding the one that fits your business model the best.
Thank you so much for that. If you could do it quickly, because we have to wrap it.
I'd like to address your first question, which is how do you get more up to speed with this type of marketing? I think my first line of attack, and it is indeed my first line of attack, is to go to the local higher education, if you have a university or college, and talk with the people who are teaching those people and attempt to get some interns working with you to develop a marketing plan. I think you will find that to be very effective. Most professors really love to put their students to work in the real world, and they learn a lot more. And often that's very effective on the bottom line, too. You may have to pay a little, or you may have totally pro bono students coming forth just wanting to have a chance to make a mark and make themselves known. That would be my first topic. Then I would look to my own family, my own kids, and community of friends, and find kids who are really technically competent and learn from them. Just start talking with them. A lot of them would love to teach us more expertise. So those are my two thoughts.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for questions at this point, but we will all be around. We are here for the conference, so please don't hesitate to stop us, engage, ask us questions, reach out to us on social media and things like that. We'd love to chat with you. Thank you so much for attending today. We appreciate you coming and just your thoughtful, insightful questions. And you've definitely added to our discussion and given us a few things to think about. Thank you to the Unwto for putting this panel together, for putting this topic on the schedule, and also for just bringing these people together for this panel. It was a joy to actually speak to them and have them discuss these things with us. Thank you all for your time and your willingness to share ideas and best practices. A replay of this conversation will be on the Unwto YouTube channel, so take a check there. And definitely stay connected with us. Come talk to us. Find us through our social media channel. And that concludes today's discussion, or this panel's discussion on innovation in wine tourism. Thank you all so much. Have a great afternoon.
Very good.
Thank you, Tanya, for this beautiful moderation, and thank you all. Thank you to the speakers, and thank you for joining us this morning. To all the participants here in Alba, I hope you're ready for the wonderful exploration afternoon ahead we have with winery visit and workshop prepared just for you. And we will learn more, of course, and for sure we're going to share some good wine. So thank you for being here today.
Ooh, it's hot up there.
It is hot.
Excellent, Tanisha.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Io purtroppo mi stavano mettendo là.
Sorry, a technical information. The party to the thematic visit, it's about at 1:30. And if you don't remember to which one you should go, please go to the registration table so they can indicate you to what bus you should go on. And after that, you are able to mingle and relax. And we have a welcome dinner tonight.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Hope to talk with you further.
Good question. Where are the buses? I guess outside the theater, right in front of the
I have to
theater.
get it all taken off of me.
I'm not sure that I have the name of the venue, but I'm sure that we'll find some people helping you out with that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Infatti.
Thank you so much.
No, io poi torno a Milano.
I get a
Ma
picture.
che ora è
Okay.
la delegazione?
Where is?
Oh, fun.
We need somebody to take it. Do you see Soleil? I want to get a picture of us while we're all here, because I
Yes,
know we're
they
about to run.
It is, even though their wine is a little iffy.
Stasera.
Yeah. Soap, candles.
Open.
Can you do me a favor right quick?
Yeah.
Can you take a picture of us for my panel, please?
Bene, come stai tu?
Yes, it's very exciting.
Complimenti.
And people love it.
Brava, bravissima.
Very high prices. But people love it.
Bellissimo.
And they take gifts back.
Benissimo, bene. Grazie,
Yes.
grazie. E questo video è stupendo.
Yes, it's amazing.
Esatto, esatto. Ma infatti il vino bisogna andare fino alla cantina o c'è qua un rinfresco? Io mi aspetti qua. Aspetta, vado a togliere tutto.
But it is the best area for tourism. Yes, I have a child who lives in Austin, so yes, yeah.
Hi.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. And barbecue.
The only thing is that it's disease.
Mm.
You know,
Yes, yes,
So-
yes. Mhm.
Posso no,
Mhm. No, it's exciting.
aspetta un attimo.
you know where I'm a little lower, you know, in
Mm.
the western part
Yes,
of
yes.
the
Mm. West Texas.
They have a very, very good, very performing, and very healthy vines.
Mhm.
The only thing is that there is a
Oh, really?
competition with budget.
Well, I'm going to have to go look there. Now you've turned me on to it. Yes. We should talk further and maybe we can present together at another conference. Do you like to present at different things?
Whenever you
Okay.
I'm looking at having relation with academia, with
Yes.
associations.
Yes.
Your observatory may be.
Okay. All right.
The government is not a member, but I'm trying to build something.
We can definitely talk about that. All right.
Great.
Great to meet you, pal.
Great to meet you.
Okay. Let's see you. It was great. You did very well. Beautiful. Okay. Great panel.
Can I use this?
Yes. We'll just hold on. 1 second. 1 second.